Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. This is episode 34, Two Tickets to Paradise? Why the Future of Non-Fungible Tokens, NFTs, is bright, despite having troubles in paradise. This Crypto Hipster podcast compilation, the 34th installment of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls, calls from six different podcasts. Clips from six usually do four or five, three. This one comes from six. Um, these are the only podcasts from season 6 through 8, which focus specifically on NFTs. The first few years of my podcasts, I had, through seasons 1 through 5, I had about 35% of my interviews were on NFTs. And from season 6 through 8, six focused on NFTs, which is a significant drop. But despite that significant drop, I believe, and the founders I talked to in this podcast clips, in which the entire podcasts are available on Spotify or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, believe in the future of NFTs and why the future is bright despite the recent troubles. The first person I spoke with in this podcast is Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams from season 6 in October 2023 is the co-founder and CEO of COZ, COZ. We've talked about breaking down ivory towers and stone walls and how NFTs can enhance life experiences and benefit local communities. And also from season 6, next is Rusty Matveev, who is the Chief Strategy Officer at Calaxy. We spoke about, our title of that podcast was Alive and Kickin', Why NFTs Are Far From Dead. Rather, an NFT future looks quite bright. I spoke to him in December of 2023 in season 6. The next clip from season 7 was my conversation with Ricardo Capone, and that was in April of 2024. Ricardo is the Chief Technical Officer at Dr. Green NFT. And we talked about solving the greatest challenges facing the cannabis industry using NFTs. The fourth clip is with Dr. Alun Evans from season 7 also. He's the co-founder of the LAOS network. Spoke in March 15, 2024. And Dr. Evans and I talked about, and that was just my season 7 premiere episode. We talked about solving experiential and developer challenges with Web3 gaming, digital collectibles, and NFTs. Next, and it's my season 6 finale with Zain Talyarkhan. Zain is the CEO and founder at Notable.art. That was my last podcast in season 6. And that was in March 2024. And Zain and I talked about revolutionizing the best of both traditional art and digital art worlds with digital twin NFTs. Last and not least, I spoke to Aka Leung, who is the regional director of the MENA region at Bitget in season 8 in September 24th, the beginning of season 8. We talked about why NFTs may still just be the catalyst that brings billions of Web2 users into Web3. These episodes, these clips, these compilations make up this installment of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls entitled Two Tickets to Paradise? Why the Future of Non-Fungible Tokens is Bright despite having troubles in paradise. Check out the clips, check out this podcast. If you want to listen to or any of these podcasts in their entirety, they are available where you listen to your favorite podcasts. Sit back and enjoy episode 34. We are now officially, since I have 67 total Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls, we are officially right past the halfway point. So keep tuning in over the next couple of months, and I'll see you soon. I want to get into the concept of the digital twin and the metaverse. I don't know if you remember if you watched the
Super Bowl between the Rams and the Bengals, but 2 years ago. But that year we had during, everybody else is focused on what the halftime show was, what the game was, and I was like, we just witnessed 13 metaverse commercials, but I'm like the only person who picked up on it, like in the room, you know. And the digital twin, it's kind of like the princess and the frog right now. But how can NFTs, while NFTs enhance local experiences and benefit communities, what will the role of the metaverse be in life experiences? And I'm assuming that's not just going to be at the community or local level; it's going to be global.
Yeah, so and this will be more from the context of NFIs, although the value proposition in that area is kind of similar, right, with a slight twist on it. I think what's going to be really interesting is as we see these products kind of proliferate into the market and become more commonplace, is the idea of crosstalk between different experiences. I mentioned this concept of having a jacket, right, where you have this jacket and it has a digital twin. Has this NFI technology embedded in it, and maybe the company that has the jacket or that produced the jacket, they are sponsoring some event where if you go and you collect, and I'll use a Colorado example here. Maybe if you take a photo of yourself wearing that jacket on every 14er in Colorado, you get a discount at their store, right? And you also get you get a merit badge that proves that you climbed it. It's recorded to the digital twin that you've done it, but you also get a badge, right, on the jacket, so you can show off. Like it improves the value of the jacket, right? In addition to that, in parallel, there may be a metaverse game which also uses the same jacket and it uses the same data, because again, it's on a permissionless chain. It's sovereign data. It's associated with the jacket itself, and you're the owner. So you could also grant access to that data, that activity, to another app, which is maybe an alternate reality app. And I like to use the example of like going to Vegas to fight dragons instead of just playing cards, right? So maybe you go to Vegas and you're wearing this jacket, and because this jacket has gone to every 14er, it's this very rare thing. It gives you a stat boost for your character when you go to fight a dragon in Vegas, for example. And then maybe somebody else has another asset. Maybe they have a watch, for example, and that watch, it's been to, maybe 5 or 6 different film festivals, right? And maybe that watch gives you other perks in that same game. And that watch has, it has its brand recognition and experience associated with it as well. But it gives you other value propositions in the same game, right? In another metaverse game, those same 2 assets may have a different value proposition as well. And I think this concept, I'm using the example of physical assets here, NFIs, but this also exists for NFTs as well, right? So this crosstalk between the NFTs within experiences is kind of where I see that kind of almost being required for it to take off.
I agree with you. I agree with the gray area, because you had a lot of VCs who created, different styles of PDFs, or
Yeah.
whatever. You had that, and they're not artists. But then you had legitimate artists, who for the first time in their lives were able to monetize their work, right? So how, as a buyer or as a collector or as an investor in NFTs, can you cut through the chase and say, hey, this is legit, this is a money grab, this is, I'm supporting an artist here, I'm throwing my money into the, like, how do you, like, what guidelines and what's your mandate or roadmap for being able to do that?
Yeah, again, a great positioning question. And again, I'm not a financial advisor and anything like that in terms of this realm, right? I would say as a user, like be ready to just be satisfied with whatever like the item is that you're buying, right? If it has anything to do with financial upside, or and again, like the caveat there is I might buy a LeBron James rookie card, right, or something like that in terms of sports and collectibles. If you want to like go sort of apples to apples, and then I perceive a future value, I might enjoy owning that card and having that card because I might be a LeBron fan. And at the same time, in the back of my head, I think I just found I was showing I have a 5-year-old, and I was showing him some old sports cards I had from forever ago, and I found like a Kobe Bryant rookie card just for pure fun. Like I didn't care about the value when I bought it, I'm sure. I looked it up and it's worth like $500. I was like, oh wow, like I definitely didn't pay anything for that card, like in that sense. So I think just be satisfied with like the art that you're buying or anything else, and then the rest will sort of come, right? If you happen to buy an NFT of an art, Van Gogh or even just an up and coming artist, and then it so happens to grow in value in the future, amazing, good for you. And then you could decide if you want to sell it or keep it. But the hope is that you're buying the value now in terms of like you like the thing, it brings you joy or whatever the reasons are. Everything else, if you're like truly speculatively approaching NFTs to like for profit, I really can't comment too much because I think it's clearly gray and risky, and you don't know, it could get shut down or it could stay up, or there might be there's always seemingly always secondary ways to sell it, but it's tough. I think like you have to be in that space and care, and naturally, until, again, as we just said, until there's clear regulatory stuff, even like taxes, like it's really hard to even understand how you do your taxes on that front. So not too many CPAs out there have that much experience or exposure in this space. So like that just brings a whole other level of difficulty. Do you only report when you sell it? Like, what about if you got one for free or you bought one, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answers that.
It does. I've been a baseball card collector since 1979.
Nice.
And movie poster collector since 1990.
Yeah.
So I don't know the values on them, but I know I enjoy it as a hobby.
Exactly. And by the way, I not recently, maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago, I saw a group launching specifically for movie posters for NFTs. Maybe it was like 6 months ago, but I don't know if they're still around. Like they had, maybe they are. They had some IP for, I want to say, Apollo or the Creed movies. They had a couple IPs that were interesting. And then we started talking about, could they do like the movie shorts, like the actual trailers or clips? Could those be NFTs? People love sending those back and forth, like, like YouTube shorts and stuff. So a lot there. So it's a cool space.
So if, I'm looking at like CryptoPunks, and I'm looking at Bored Apes, and I'm looking at the early, NFTs, and NFTs would benefit the owner being part of community. The difference here is that if somebody buys your NFT, they now can build a business, based on the product that you have to offer.
Correct. And community is really important for us as well. So the way that the marketplace that we've created works is we have these characters. The NFT characters themselves are absolutely stunning. They were drawn. I don't know if I can reveal that yet. I don't know if I can reveal who drew them yet, but a very famous artist drew them. I'll reveal that later on. And instead of doing characters with traits, he put 5,000 completely unique characters together. So each one is unique, is a piece unique. And those 5,000 characters come from 20 different planets. So they have a backstory about a planet that they come from. And we've designed these 3D graphical planets that look amazing. And that's how the marketplace works. You go into the NFT universe, as to say, and you choose your NFT by planet, and each planet has its own subset of strains that natively grow on that world. So you'll have a look and you'll go, okay, I recognize this group of strains as being popular in my location, so I'll buy my NFT from this world, and then you'll be able to trade those strains. But what that allows us to do is create this sort of community sentiment where if I've got, strains on planet A, Jamil, and you've got the strains on planet B, and a customer of mine is interested in planet B strains, well, there are 3 ways that I can make that happen. First of all, I can be a capitalist. I can just go and buy NFT from planet B also and not have to speak with anybody. I can just add those strains to my product catalog. That's the first way. The second way, it's not so fun. The second way is diplomacy. So I can come into the community groups like the Discord or the Telegram. There's sections in there for join forces. I can be like, hey guys, Jamil, I see you have Planet B. My customers really want your strains. Would you like to do a profit share? Like, let's form an alliance. Okay, great. We agree a split, 80-20, 70-30, whatever it is. We agree it. I jump on my platform. I put your wallet address in. I'm doing a profit share with Jamil. 70-30. If my customers buy strains from your world, you get 30%, I get 70% of the profit. Great. And then a smart contract is created on the blockchain. So we don't need to rely on each other to honor our word. The smart contract will take a customer that's registered to my NFT. If I order cannabis that's on your planet and it's registered with your wallet, it would just do that profit share automatically for us. So we can earn money together and build that community. And then the third way, naturally, we're humans, right? The third way is war. So we can go to war for it. And what I mean by that is we're developing a mobile game app that's like an RPG where you see your character in the game, you've got the planets in the game, and I can build my small army and come and attack your planet. And if I win the battle, then I get access to your strains for 1 month on your world. But if I lose the battle, I just can't fight you again for another week. So nobody actually loses anything in the game. Financially, you've only got stuff to gain. However, to win and lose wars in a game, you need stronger and weaker characters. So what we've done is we've pulled in the metadata from the blockchain, from the actual NFTs. So your character in the game, the strength is determined by 3 factors. One is how many customers do you have? 2 is how many transactions have you made? And 3 is what revenue has gone through your NFT. And those 3 factors will determine if you're a strong character or a weak character, will change your EXP in the game as you build your business. So if you find that you're playing this game and you're getting frustrated because you're losing all the battles, go sell some weed and come back and play again, and you might win access to the other planet. So it's a way of making it fun, keeping people engaged on the platform and things like that as well. So we didn't want to just make it all serious and about money. So we wanted to keep that community spirit, and also education through those communities as well is really important for us.
It's interesting because in order to advance and to move forward, we have to add new functionality, right, to existing NFTs, to in-game collectible assets, from both the content perspective and from a technology perspective, right? So how do you do that? How do you add that evolution of technology to both NFTs and in-game collectibles?
I think what you have to do is remove the word collectibles, right? Collectibles inherently suggests rarity and scarcity, and those 2 words lead almost inevitably to speculation and market speculation, and those are the things that the traditional gamer is not particularly so interested in. And that's not just my opinion, that's just a truth that we've seen with the general backlash that the gaming community has had towards the NFT market so far. And as I said, I do understand that backlash in the sense that gamers don't want to be worried about how valuable their collectibles are. They want to be playing the game. So an alternative use case there is to remove the word collectibles and just call them tradable assets, right? So let's have a concrete use case. In the game that we actually developed 5 years ago in 2019, it was a sports management game. It was a football game, football in the European sense of the word rather than the American sense of the word, right? So soccer for our American friends. And when you started the game, you were given a team of 18 players. And those are the players you used, and you managed them, and you played in matches against other users. It was a multiplayer game. And what you didn't realize when you logged into the game is that those 18 players on your team were actually NFTs. They were all NFTs. And you never realized until the opportunity presented itself that you could actually trade them to other people, right? And you could trade them for real money, not for in-game currency, but for something that had a value. And so that, to me, makes that example is an example of the use case that's beyond collectibles and scarcity. Because what you could do with your players is train them and make them fitter and faster and score more goals and make more tackles and run further and so on, and get injured less often. So by training them, you were improving them, and therefore the value that they had on the marketplace was not based on how rare they were or how collectible they were. It was based on how well you had played the game. And so you're inverting completely the motivation for trading those assets and wanting to buy those assets. You're turning it from being a reward for effort as opposed to a simple rush to grab a collectible when it comes out.
I like it. I like the concept. I wish I could do that for some of the baseball and football game. Like, we have my kids play that I play sometimes. That'd be pretty cool. The other thing, I want to stay on that speculation. Before I want to get into inscriptions, but before I do that, I want to talk about speculation further. You said we're headed into a bull market right now, right?
Potentially. I said maybe. We might be at the beginnings of one, I said.
Yeah, we might be. I think so too. But what I see a lot of speculation. I see a lot of so many meme coins that have no utility, right? But do they have utility? Like, are you securing the underlying network by buying that? And if so, where's the value at, and what's the potential to be able to turn these meme coins that have no utility into something that could have utility?
So in any market, you're going to have speculation in one way or another, probably. Maybe not 100% certain, but probably. And even in the example I mentioned earlier on, where the value of the token is based on how it's being used, even then there is going to be an element of speculation, whether it's a small element, but it still might be an element of speculation. And the crypto market, of course, traditionally has been full of speculation. In fact, you could argue that the majority of the crypto market, not the blockchain market, but the crypto market in particular, is based on speculation. And why do people start a meme coin? Well, it's to make money through speculation, ultimately, right?
Notable.art is really. Let's look at the back. Like, let me look at the backdrop. When I started my podcast 3 years ago, it was just when NFT started. The NFT is just coming on, and then this had this just tremendous, hype cycle, where every JPEG was selling for $1 million. It seemed,
It certainly seemed that way, and some of them really were. More than a few were actually doing so.
Yeah, and then the NFT market took a hit, as well as the broader crypto market, right? But now you're revolutionizing the way that art is experienced, traded, and collected, right? So, what's different now as opposed to 3 years ago, and what's the evolution and revolution that you're going through to this next cycle?
So, of course, with the thawing of the quote unquote crypto NFT winter, there are some strong tailwinds, which we're all familiar with. There are indications of the potential for strong tailwinds, to be slightly more precise. But the distinction, I think, which what has evolved over the past 3 years is that hype cycle over, let's say, CryptoPunks as an example. I think investors were getting in and getting out as much as possible, and therefore there was this negative connotation that has since been attached, let's say, more so by the traditional art collecting community with that term. Whether you want to use the term digital art asset, NFT, there in that sense, the terms are fungible. But working with visual artists, I think, is the key. That that there's an underlying physical practice as a first-time buyer of, let's say, a notable NFT, that there is a physical artist behind it. You can walk into the Metropolitan Museum and see his or her work. You have that complementary physical, and it's a little bit, it's about the storytelling, whether we want to say Notable is bridging digital and physical art or bridging physical and digital art. It's a little bit of a subtlety depending on the audience. For the more, let's say, Web3 native, crypto native audience, it's about you're more used to the digital, but you get this wonderful benefit of the physical and engaging with the artist as being part of the art collecting of the notable art community. On the other hand, if you're more a Web2 native traditional collector that maybe has not purchased an NFT before or doesn't have crypto, we provide a couple of things. One, of course, a fiat payment gateway. So you don't need to have ETH or Bitcoin in a wallet. And we will be launching in a couple of weeks' time a Notable wallet, which is a Web 2, a more familiar Web 2 interface, standard email, password, two-factor authentication. So you never need to worry about, oh, do I have crypto in my wallet? How do I access it? You just go on Notable.art and log in as usual. So it's really about trying to appeal to both traditional and digitally native audiences. And of course, this emerging collector base who are more digitally native, but want to engage with the traditional art world, but haven't yet been able to do so because there hasn't been that bridge.
NFTs, people claim are dead, but they're not, right? What do you see as the benefit of them helping?
NFT actually is a technology that I think right now, previously in the previous 1 year, most of the projects are dead because of maybe some they are just focusing on making fast money, but they actually not doing it in the right way. So right now, I can also say NFT actually technology is a good thing. So because it's non-fungible token, right? So this is the proof of something. So let's take an example, maybe the qualification. Also, everything can say, I graduated from Oxford University. So you have a cert, right? But for NFT, for upcoming, as you can see the trend, maybe we can use this technology, NFT technology, to implement into our real life, such as the qualification. So NFT is a very unique very technology. So right now you cannot say, oh, this cert is not real, but find NFT technology, you can prove your cert is real. So that's why you can prove you are really qualified and get graduated in Oxford University. So some of them I know some of the companies are already working with some kind of NFT technology to try to implement with our real life. So I think I can foresee that there are some upcoming NFT will be back soon. So because once the previous year, most of the project now mainly focusing on making fast money, but they already neglected the real things of the technology, NFT technology. So that's my thought here.
I like it. I do. So I'm thinking about your company. You've been around for a little while. You've navigated some really rough crypto waters, you know, with Terra Luna collapse and FTX and Celsius, 3AC, all that. You were unaffected, I think, relatively. You know, you're still standing. What's been your key to sustainable growth, you know, where others failed?
Yeah, this is a good question. So actually, the crypto market can be a rough water. You can see the Luna crossing, the FTX crossing, a lot of maybe some central exchange they closed down. So actually, I stay here in Bitget for 2 years. Still, we are working very well because we have been focused on transparency and user safety and building the trust with our users. So this is the key for us in staying afloat and growing steadily. So even though in tough times like Terra and Luna collapse, and at that time we also launched a protection fund and also proof of reserve after the FTX incident. So we aim to build the trust with our users. So all the what referee is about transparency and security. So you can find how much money we reserve for the protect our users their fund in Bitget. So this is the very public. You can search this online in the blockchain data. You can check the data. So we have that money and we are not afraid that we are collapse because we are very secure and transparent. So that we can really power of it to stay with our users. They trust us. And I also we would like to highlighted that we really secured and transparent exchange in the industry. So that's why we are still here and users trust us as usual.